All right, we can now move on to satellites now. So with our understanding of satellites, we have satellites are basically projectiles in space orbiting the Earth in circular motion. So we have two types of satellites. We have LEO, lower Earth orbit satellites, which orbit at a low altitude of around 200 to 2000 kilometers, right? And this places it above the denser part of the atmosphere. And by placing it above the denser part of the atmosphere, what we're doing is we're reducing drag. And so that kind of helps the satellite stay in orbit for longer. And if you think about the orbital period of the LEO satellites, it has an orbital period of less than 128 minutes. And so these are some of the properties. So in terms of explaining questions about satellites, you need to think about the properties and then relate the properties to its uses. So it's got a low altitude. It's got its or main feature is the fact that it's got a low altitude, right? And because it has a low altitude, it's pretty good for communications, reconnaissance, and imaging. So Earth observation as well as reconnaissance, those are some pretty good uses for lower Earth orbit satellites. We also have geostationary satellites. So geostationary satellites orbit at around 36,000 kilometers, an altitude of around 36,000 kilometers. And what's you can see what's special about it because it's part of the name. They are stationary. They appear stationary in the sky, right? So they're not stationary themselves, but they appear stationary in the skies because they have an orbital period of around 24 hours. So it has the same orbital period as that of the Earth. And so it will appear to be stationary exactly one spot above the Earth. So because of this feature now, because of this feature, they will be used for a variety of things, such as communication and broadcasting satellites. So communication, the reason why it's used for communication is because they're so high, they can cover such a wide area of the Earth's surface, and so they're pretty useful for communication. In terms of broadcasting satellites, right? If you think of satellite dishes, or just those like receiving dishes, right? If your satellite appears stationary in the sky, then those receiver dishes only need to point to one fixed position in the sky, right? They don't have to move around as the Earth orbits or as the satellite moves. So it's very useful in that case as well.